Hi, I'm Jeanette Lee, the Black Widow, and welcome to Expert Insight's Black Widow Billiards. When I first started playing pool, I was always looking for the shortcut. I'd ask all the regulars, how does my game get better? Their answer was the same. Put your money on the table, you'll get good real fast. But fortunately for you, you're with me now. And what I want to do is take your game to the next level by teaching you rock-solid fundamentals. First, we're going to learn the stance, grip, and bridge, which are the foundations of the killer stroke. I'm going to teach you how to aim and control the cue ball. Knowing what the cue ball is going to do will help you run multiple shots in a row, and that's fun. So let's stop talking about it, let's shoot some pool. A lot of people think that the stance is all about where you have your feet. It's a lot more than that, but we'll start with the feet. There's a lot of different ways to stand. You can have your first leg going forward and bent, back leg straight out about 45-degree angle, get down on the shot. That's the general classic American stance. Europeans tend to get squared to the shot and then get down on the ball. But honestly, I don't think that it really matters. I think what's important is that your balance is 50-50. I tend to think of it like, I'm from New York, so when you're on a subway, and you get down, let's say there's no place to sit. You want to make sure that your feet are set in a way that no matter which way the subway's going, you're not going to bump into a weirdo, okay? So for me, when you get down on the shot, just be really balanced, wait 50-50, and you're good. Now let's talk about the alignment. When you get down on the shot, usually try to see if you can start off standing in front of a mirror. You want to make sure that your hands, your right shoulder, your elbow are all in alignment. This is very important because now you can just basically throw your hand forward and be very accurate. Once you start taking your elbow, moving it out, moving it in, now it's very difficult to go straight. What happens is, let's say the elbow's out, your arm wants to go this way. When the elbow's in, it wants to go this way, which means that the timing of when you actually contact the ball has to be so perfect. If your elbow, your wrist, and your shoulder are all in alignment, when you contact the ball, even if your timing's a little bit off, you can still at least hit the ball straight. Very important. Now the last thing is you want to make sure when you're down that you have plenty of clearance. What I mean by that, especially as a woman, is you want to make sure that you can fully follow through without ever hitting your body, which women have some extra problems to deal with. Okay? So you can do it standing up a little bit more, or you might want to just move your body out a little bit. Now, don't go too extreme. You don't want to be out here. But just make sure that your hand will clear your hip and your chest so that you can just go all the way forward. So that's about it. Balance, alignment, and clearance. You get that, you'll be on your way. Hey, I found that one of the best ways to recap some of the principles I've been teaching is by seeing it in action at a world-class level. Here we're going to take a look at how the most basic fundamentals apply in game-winning situations. Now, we all talk about nerves, and champions and amateurs alike feel those nerves. But the way the champions get through it is that we expect it, we accept it, and we have solid fundamentals to get us through those nerve-wracking situations. Now remember, the three aspects of a good stance are balance, alignment, and clearance. First, look at my balance. As you can see, I opt for more of an open stance. But what's important is my weight is distributed evenly on each foot for a good, stable foundation. Next, notice my alignment. See how my shooting hand, elbow, and shoulder are all on the same plane? Last, notice I have adequate clearance to execute the stroke. My shooting hand and arm won't hit any part of my body during the shot.
And she is on her way.
When you're focusing on the stroke, the grip is very important because it's what allows you to stroke your cue stick forward nice and comfortably. The two biggest things that I find is that people will hold the cue stick too tight. And what happens is, because our arm is a pendulum, when you're holding the cue stick tight, the cue stick will go up with your pendulum. With that swing, it's going to go upward. What we want to do is we want to make sure that when we're down on the shot, we keep this cue stick as level as possible, which means that you can't hold the cue stick so tight. You have to cradle it. Now you want to make sure that this cue stick is simply an extension of your arm and it's going back and forth. If you hold it too loose, rather than just focusing on the muscle of the forearm going forward, you're having to control all these muscles in your fingers. So just make sure that you hold it well enough to where you don't feel like it's going to fly out of your hand. Now, if you notice, my wrist and my hand go straight down. You want to make sure that you don't cock it inward or outward, because now, again, you're going to get this kind of action here. So you want to go straight down, nice, comfortable. The weight, a lot of times it's right on that knuckle. But a couple of little things I want you to catch. A lot of times when you hold it too comfortably on the shot, as you follow through, you tend to grip and it'll turn the cue stick. And this is how you can really find it out. It's a little trick I learned. If you take a little blue tape or colored tape or something, put it on your cue stick. I would put it here and here. When you get down to shoot, let's say that blue is right there at the top. As you shoot, it'll be so obvious if you're turning your cue stick at all, because that blue will just sock you right in the face. Okay? Nice, comfortable. Now watch my cue stick. Nice and level, dead straight through. It's so important to be able to always diagnose what's going on. A lot of times you get unwanted English and things like that. So just focus on just doing that. And I would even kind of close my eyes occasionally, then open it and check it to where you can just memorize that feeling of just following all the way through, letting all of this go forward. The grip is super important, so make sure you pay attention to it. So here's another shot from one of my tournaments. Let's take a look at my grip. Remember, the key points to a good grip are loose but controlled, wrist and hand straight. Most importantly, don't rotate or twist your wrist during the stroke. Take a look at my grip here. It's loose and comfortable, but still controlled. My wrist and hand are straight, and I'm careful not to twist my wrist during the stroke. The bridge is really important because it's the foundation of what your cue stick rests on. But before I get into showing you the different kind of bridges, you have to focus on where your thumb is versus the cue ball. I usually have my hand 8 to 10 inches from the cue ball. I want to make sure that I can have a nice, good swing when I'm stroking the ball. When I'm too close, I can't get the backswing. And when I'm too far, there's too big a margin of error, and I want to show you that. When my hand is very close, watch my right hand. Okay, let's assume at most this is my margin of error. When I pull back, I might be off by this much. My tip is just moving very, very little there. If I bring my hand back here to just really exaggerate, okay, and I move this thumb that same amount, look at that margin of error. It's enormous. So this is just a nice balance between being accurate and getting the right power that you need. All right, let's get into bridges now. The best bridge I can recommend to you is the open bridge. You take your thumb, you put it on your first finger, you put it on the index finger, always, all the time. Your hand should rest. There's a little meaty part of your skin. A lot of times I see people resting on that and it kind of gives it this jerking action. Just turn your hand a little bit, get it off that meat, okay? And get it nice and comfortable. So when your hand is fully on the table, get these two touching each other, resting. There's a little V, it rests on that V. You can have a nice stroking action. The cool thing about the open bridge, and it really is cool, is where it's the most obvious what's going on with your swing. When you stroke the ball, as we've talked about, if you grip your cue stick, if you turn it to the left or right, it's really obvious with the open bridge. Then you'll talk about the closed bridge. You'll hear people talk about it, where the thumb is now on the middle finger on the V. This loops above. It's a little bit more stable bridge, and you'll see a lot of professionals use it on power shots, certain kind of nip shots, things like that, because now instead of it resting on 2 points, it's resting on 3. This makes it a little bit more stable, but as far as I'm concerned, it's harder to see through that barrel than that, right? When you get down the shot, after your shot, you want to see what happens to your cue stick. If it's going straight and down, you've shot it well. If the ball doesn't go in, then your aim was off. But if your cue stick ends up anywhere else but straight and down, then it had nothing to do with your aim. It was all you. So let's get down here. Nice slow back swing. On this shot on the 9-ball, all I have to do is make it. I don't have to worry about cue ball control or position play. So in that case, I want to use the open bridge to maximize my sight line during the shot. Sometimes you'll find that pros tend to trade off between open and closed bridges, depending on how much control they want on the cue ball. Here I have to use bottom English and more power, so that's why I've opted to use the closed bridge. All right, let's talk about rail bridges. When you have less than 4 inches, again, when I talked about the distance between the thumb and the cue ball, you're usually 8 to 10 inches, but you want to have at least 4. If you have less than 4 and you're on the rail, you want to cup underneath between the thumb and the first finger. Now, this is an exception where the thumb is not on the first finger now, okay? We're up on the rail. If I was to close my hand and rest up top, now I'm shooting down at the ball. We don't want to do that. We always are trying to keep that cue stick level if we can. I'm going to cup underneath, give myself a chance to stroke the ball. Nice. All right. Look at this. The cue ball is still barely there. I had less than 4 inches. But if you just change the angle, suddenly I have over a foot of space. So now I can use the closed bridge again. So rather than putting the thumb up here, I'm going to rest it. I'm going to take the flat of my thumb, my middle finger, my index finger, and now I can comfortably use a closed bridge on the rail. All right, contortion bridges. I call them that because there are situations that'll come up where you can't get your hand fully on the table or fully on the rail. So what you have to do is you have to contort your hand and contort your bridge to whatever is necessary. So it might be something like this, or it might be here, or it might be here, it might be here. You're going to do whatever you can to get comfortable to where your hand is as solid as possible when you're contorting your bridge. See, that wasn't good because I didn't have enough bridge that slipped right out of my hand. So let me back up my hand a little bit. Okay. See here, I found that I was elevating too much, so I moved it over and I flattened it again. Nice. That's what a good bridge will do for you. So here we see the cue ball is pretty close to the rail, definitely less than 4 inches. So I'm going to use the open rail bridge. If the cue ball was a little further away, I'd be using the closed rail bridge. Here's the situation where I have no choice but to use the contortion bridge. My hand can't rest flatly on the rail, and yet it's not comfortable on the bed of the table either. So I'm actually contorting my hand around the pocket, around the edge of the rail in the pocket, in order to make a stable bridge for me to execute this shot. Sometimes you get into a situation where your bridge hand can't simply stay flat on the table. In this situation, I'd like to shoot the cue ball into the 2 ball, but the 14 ball is keeping me from keeping a level cue. So what I tend to do for aiming first is once I lock my chin to the aim and I approach the ball, I'm going to get my bridge hand as close to the 14 ball as possible, and then I start raising my knuckles, raising this, watch my body. I'm going to go straight up. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I was doing before. Some nice practice swings. Do I like it? Yes. Some common mistakes is when you try to hit the ball too hard. Very, very rarely do you need to hit this ball hard when you're elevating over the cue stick. The balls are round, they're going to roll. Okay. Let's say I'm partially blocked by the 13 ball. I can't quite hit center. I'm going to hit with a high ball. I can actually take my normal open bridge and elevate just a little bit. So in this situation, that's what I would do. Get my hand up, elevate just a little bit. If I need to go a little higher because I'm blocked a little bit more, and I can't quite get there like that, I take my first finger, lay it on top of my middle finger, because my middle finger is longer. So I can get up just a little bit higher. So I get up close and I elevate. Watch this now. This is really important. And I use this when I'm doing jump shots, massage shots, anything that requires an elevated bridge. Very often a person is going to do this, and then they start to elevate their hand. Well, because the way the body is set up, you can only elevate it so much before you start doing this. The only way to avoid that is when you lift your entire body up. So you see my chin? It stays with the cue stick right here. If you do this and all you do is raise this, now in order to do it, you have to turn, and now your cue stick is going to go like this. So make sure, as you go, slow backswing, follow through. You'll be deadly. Ugh, I hate elevated bridge shots. See how my body is raised all the way up to maintain the proper alignment for the shot? And yet my fingers are fully extended to raise the bridge up and over the interfering ball. You've got to stay so still and just trust yourself. We have to talk about this because I'm so tired of hearing people say that this is a crutch or you're a wimp for using the bridge. This is important. It's like not bringing all your clubs to the golf course or saying there shouldn't be any defense in football. It's part of the game. And this isn't about bravado. This isn't about making the most insane, fancy shots in the world. It's setting up easy shots, making them, keeping your opponent in the chair. That's it. Let's talk about the bridge. This is called the mechanical bridge. When I cue up, I set up a shot that would be typical of a bridge shot. I can't quite reach it. You know, it's not very comfortable. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bridge out. I'm going to take this bridge, put it out about a foot or two, just out of the way and comfortable. I want my hand on it so that if I'm shooting, I have the confidence in the back of my mind that I can get it up off the table as quickly as possible. Once it's down, my hand's on it, now my mind is not focusing on two things, okay? Focusing on one thing. I'm going to lock my chin in front of it just like a normal shot, and I'm going to cue up. Now, if you notice, my tip, every time I follow through, I pull back and it go up, I go right up to that cue ball. Very often I'll see amateurs kind of stroke the ball right up to here, and by the time they go to strike the ball, they've just lost it. Get up there, take some nice swings, slow back swings, and when you're ready, take a nice slow back swing. You've got to practice this. You want to turn your weakness into a weapon. On this safety shot, I have to use the mechanical bridge. Notice how I'm holding the cue stick is a little bit different because now I'm holding it almost like I'm throwing a dart forward. But what doesn't change is my stroke. A lot of times with the mechanical bridge, people start speeding up their stroke. You got to still continue to keep that nice slow backswing, nice and smooth. And again, alignment, very, very important. Check out my head, my chin, my eyes. It's directly over that cue stick. Nice and steady. Let the shot go. I'm so glad you're here with me because this is really exciting. It's so important that you understand that it's not about learning position play and bank shots and jump shots. It's about getting that killer stroke. If you can get that killer stroke to just go exactly where you want to go, you start making that cue ball dance. You start getting to know where your cue ball is going. You can adjust your aim. You can learn systems. But if your cue ball is all over the place, if your stroke is all over the place, it doesn't matter. So let's forget about showing off. Let's focus on winning. Because if you master it, you'll be the killer player. If you ignore it, you'll be the prey. This is what it's all about. This is why you're here. It's all about the stroke. And to this day, I work on it. When you're shooting pool, we've gone over all the other things, but the fact of the matter is if you can't get that ball straight, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to improve. So let's get this right. And I want you to think about it this way, okay? Let's forget about the pool table for a second. A ball sport. You take a nice slow backswing, you follow through. Slow backswing, follow through. Baseball, golf, doesn't matter. Slow backswing, follow through. So if you think about all of that, under the elbow, right here. Nothing else moves. My shoulder, my elbow, no. Just my forearm that takes a nice slow backswing, follow through. Slow backswing, follow through. So people ask, okay, well, where do I hold this? When my tip is at the cue ball, your hand should be at the bottom of the swing. So if you assume this is the backswing, this is the follow through. So when my tip is at the cue ball, when my tip strikes the cue ball, my hand should be at the bottom of the swing. Now, the distance is going to change. If I'm going to do a nice short shot, I'm going to pull back just a little bit, follow through a little. A little harder, pull back a little more, follow through more. If I'm going to hit it real hard, and again, each of these, I tend to have a shorter bridge if I'm going to hit the ball soft, choke up a little bit. On a harder shot, I have a little bit longer bridge because I really want to pull back more. And as I pull my bridge back, my grip has to go back as well, because no matter what, if I pull this back and I keep this hand up here, what happens? My hand is not going to be hitting at the bottom of the swing anymore. It's forward. So that's why I've got to pull it back again, so that I know that when my tip strikes. And again, it's that balance between accuracy and power. Just remember that when my tip strikes the cue ball, a nice relaxed grip, nothing moves but your forearm. Under the elbow, it's all right there when you strike that ball. Okay, I want you to think nice slow backswing, follow through. Now you're accelerating it. It's an accelerating motion. You think about a child on a swing. It's my favorite example. If I want to pull a child on a swing, right? You pull it back. You maintain, you still got your hand on the swing, and you're accelerating through. If you pull back too quickly, the child will fall off the swing. Lawsuit, okay? If you actually shove it forward, the swing is doing something like this, okay? You've got to just make sure, nice and smooth. If you want to go very soft, not scare the child, you pull back a little, follow through. And again, it doesn't matter how far you pull back, that's the speed, right? But no matter what, it's that nice slow backswing, accelerate through. All right, when you get over here, I want you to use the line of this cue stick. And I want to be able to go over this line right here, take a nice slow backswing, follow through. Slow backswing, accelerate. Accelerate through that ball. And as you practice this, again, I say this, close your eyes. Really focus on that feeling, that timing, everything under the elbow, a nice throwing motion under the arm. This was really made aware to me by Jerry Bryseth, who's my coach and my mentor and a very good friend. And the way he put it was, it's a throwing motion under the arm, under the elbow. Okay, right there. Throwing motion under the elbow. Nothing moves, nothing up here, okay? You want to make sure that when you get down and you shoot, see how my elbow disappeared? My tip went up in the air. It's because I dropped my elbow. You want to keep everything still up there. Nice backswing, hit the ball, take it home all the way through, okay? Nice. After that, you're going to find yourself becoming so much more consistent. And it's always going to be a challenge, but it's worth it. And I know that there's a lot of amateurs out there. I always like to work with someone that hasn't played before. They don't have all these bad habits. But if you do, you're going to get so frustrated. You're going to go, oh, I can't do it that way. You know what? Work through it. Work through it. Work through it. It's worth it. You're going to improve so much faster. You probably played the last 10, 15 years. Who knows how long you've been playing? Not with a lot of improvement. It's going to change right now if you just take what I say seriously. I want you to watch this about 20,000 times so you can continue to work on your stroke, so you can continue to be reminded of all the little things that's included in the stroke. This is important because as you work on the stroke, you're going to keep improving and keep improving. And it's so cool because with this, the more you do it, the better you get. Now, you can go off and do it your way, but the bottom line is, right now, your cue stick is going this way. You don't know why you're missing. So you can practice all you want. You're not going to improve the way you will if you just work on this one thing, the stroke. Work on it. Work on it, and you'll be a champion. Earlier, we looked at this shot to demonstrate the grip. Now let's analyze the same shot in terms of my backswing and follow-through. First, you can see the only moving part of my body during the stroke is my forearm. Nothing else moves. Notice how the elbow is stationary and the forearm swings like a pendulum below the elbow. You can see that when my tip strikes the cue ball, My hand is at the very bottom of the swing. Remember the tempo. Slow backswing, accelerate through the shot. I always tell people that pool is most similar to golf or the free throw in basketball. It's not like tennis or baseball where the ball's coming at you and you have to hit it. It's just there at a standstill, and it's all up to you. Now that's good and bad. It's good because it is all up to you. You create what's happening. You have total control. But the bad news is you have all the time in the world to question yourself, to doubt yourself, to just